It is oftentimes an educator's ability to look beyond a student's current situation and foresee their end that impacts a student's future and distinguishes a great educator from a good educator. Remarkably, our 2015 Distinguished Alumni recipients are one, a student who was positively influenced by a great educator and went on to become an innovator in medicine, servant to mankind, and shining example of professionalism to all he encountered. And other, a great educator who positively influenced the lives of so many through her innovative approach to education, unyielding commitment to serve her community, and her larger-than-life persona that both commanded respect and cultivated the minds and pathways of her students and professional colleagues. Let's take a brief look into the lives of our honorees from their own perspective.
I'm a reader. My mother was a librarian, and I started reading as a little boy. And I went to a training school before Central. And she called and said, he loves to read, and you need to allow him to read what he wants. So I didn't have to read the 3rd and 4th grade books. When I was in 4th grade, I was reading the 9th and 10th grade stuff. And so that influenced me. And my mother and my dad were primarily the ones that expected me. They didn't say, we want you to be a doctor. They just wanted me to do well. And neither one would tolerate much less than that. So I graduated in 49, and I have to say that I had a world of good teachers. My all-time favorite was a lady named Elizabeth Clinton. She was my English teacher. Unfortunately, Miss Clinton caught me doing something I shouldn't have been doing, throwing things off the stairs. And she grabbed me and said, what's your name? And I panicked and told her. And she said, I want you in my class. And so I signed up for her English class and with a guy named Carl Langschmidt. Carl was the second leading scorer in the city in basketball last year, a really good player. And so we were in her class, and we wrote the part of the annual, for the sports part of the Warrior that came out every year. And she liked basketball, and she was sort of our inspiration in many ways. She made us stay in a few times for some rowdyism and talking too much. The whole climate was that you're going to be good, you're going to be excellent, and we're not going to have anything less than that. And when I went to college, I went to UT, and they gave an entrance exam, and there were 40 people exempted from freshman English. 11 of us came from Miss Clinton's class. I've always said that Central High School was far and away the strongest school in this part of the country. I took Latin and stuff in high school because I wanted to be a doctor. When I graduated, I went to Tennessee. I had a physics teacher at Tennessee who was a holy terror. Everybody was scared of her. She said, you came from a place that had a lot of competition, and you better learn how to be good at what you did or you weren't going to make it. The climate was there to be good, and that's what counts, I think.
A student's high school years are some of the most transformative years of their life. It is during this time they are groomed to transform from children into young adults and given the necessary tools to move into their adult phase of life. Louis G. Britt, a mischievous kid, varsity basketball player, and yearbook staffer, experienced such a transformation during his tenure at Memphis Central High, which prepared him for both a successful collegiate and professional career.
I'd always been interested in high blood pressure, and just something that just sort of intrigued me. And I heard a guy give a talk. A man came to Memphis. His name was David Hume, and he was one of the big dogs in the world of transplantation. He gave a talk at the Memphis Surgical, and I thought, well, that's interesting. I didn't know much about it. Decided I thought I ought to do that. I went to see my professor, Dr. Wilson, who was the chairman of the department. So I wanted to start a transplant program, and he said, well, Dr. Britt, I don't have any money. If you want to do it, you think you're big enough, well, just go ahead and do it. We did it all by ourselves. We had no federal support or anything else. And so I'm proud of that we were able to make the thing work without, begging a lot of money out of people. And at the time, we were only, I think, about the 3rd or 4th program in the country. We knew what the technique was. I got a book and read about it. Put in the first kidney in April 9th, 1970. But no, Leroy was my first patient. It's true of all surgery, you always have a first one.
Theodore Roosevelt once said, "Do what you can with what you have, where you are." Individuals with this mindset are generally full of courage, have a voracious need to explore the unknown, and are driven by a zeal to conquer that which they venture to explore. This was true of Dr. Lewis G. Britt, and all that he mastered, he went on to share his with others to help build a stronger and ever-expanding local and national medical community.
There's a lot of really good surgeons in this state and around the country who we helped train. I don't mean I did it all by myself, but I was one of their teachers, and I talked to some of them here. I mean, we had men here in this city, men and women, who are first-class surgeons. None of them are transplanters, they're just general surgeons. And that's what I was.
This very proud Memphis Central alumnus has such a solid legacy upon which to stand. He was the first local surgeon to successfully transplant a human kidney. He was the founder and president of Mid-South Transplant Foundation, which is the Mid-South federally designated organ and tissue recovery organization. Dr. Britt furthered his organ transplantation skills beyond kidney transplantation by mastering surgical techniques that allowed him and his team to transplant human livers, making Memphis one of the first 3 or 4 medical facilities in the country capable of performing such life-saving surgeries. His innovative medical skills have resulted in Memphis now having 3 transplant centers, a continuously growing organ and tissue recovery organization, and a host of well-trained surgeons throughout America.
I've been told that that's my legacy. That is not my legacy. I'm a school teacher. I taught young people to be surgeons, and that's the thing I'm proudest of in my life.